What is it, Emily, about drama that has compelled you or interested you to the point where you've really devoted a lot of your time these past couple years to that area of your life?
I'd say it has to do with two things: communication and like the ability to be someone else on stage and understand not only the play as a whole, but the character you're playing. And I just think that's fascinating how you can just, bring that to life and tell someone a story. And it's also just different types of storytelling through costumes or set pieces or just like certain body movements that are different than your own that convey a certain emotion. I just think that's really fascinating. And then, of course, the artistic aspect of, really getting in there and like sewing and staying up late and painting stuff. It's just a really satisfying experience.
You see the technical things, the wood, the nails, and the monologues as a coherent whole. Mm-hmm. I should have mentioned you're also in the Techne Society, which means, you've learned, you've done a lot of hammering, sawing, nailing. We don't often think of, quote, artsy people being technical people, but you've managed to combine them both. What is that like, and how did you make those connections?
Yeah, so I will say that I'm definitely more of an artsy person than a technical person, but I do see the value in like the discipline of taking your vision and instead of just having it sort of float in the air, but really getting down to business and making sure it gets executed. Because there's no point of having the vision in the first place if you can't actually get it done. So the excitement for me comes with every single, because honestly, there are easy things that most people can't do. So once you learn how to do it, it's less of a skill and more of a step in order to create your vision and really see it through.
The idea that you have in your head, in a sense, requires a kind of on-the-ground incarnation. Yeah. You can't have... The two have to be meshed. Yeah. You figured that out.
Yeah, and sometimes like an idea would be perfect in your head, and then you talk to the Techne leader in charge, and he said, "Oh, well, sure." And then you realize that it's actually a lot of work, and then you sort of take back some ideas, and then you learn like maybe we shouldn't do that again, just because we could have done without this specific thing and still had our time be used somewhere else. Maybe
it's interesting that you mentioned too that these physical things, the tables, the chairs, they convey a message too.
Yeah.
How have you discovered this? Can you give us an example? Maybe something from The Taming of the Shrew coming up. What choices have you made with the physicality of it? The set design, the costumes that you think help convey an important message?
So I will also say that you can convey a message without sets or props. It really depends on the play itself. Like, for example, last year's Our Town play worked perfectly with the lack of a lot of set or specific props because it was supposed to be more understandable and relatable. But if you're creating a world that's set in a specific time period or it just has a character to it, all the sets and props that the audience sees, they have to register it. It has to match. If it doesn't match, they won't be like, oh, this director chose a weird thing. It's a difference between noticing it and not noticing it. And if they notice it in a good way, it just carries the play forward.